And now, more Utalk. Now.
Hey, what's up, guys? Utalk. We've got an amazing guest on the show today. I can hardly wait for the conversation to begin, but I want to just tell you a few of her names because she goes by a few different things. Samantha, Bionickick, and Slugger. But for today's show, I think we're just going to call her Sam. That's easier for me to remember and for you guys to remember. So let's welcome Sam Tokita to Utalk.
Hello.
Whoa, great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Anyways, I mean, you are, the makeup geek, martial artist, photographer, model. You've done some drawing. I mean, we can go on, and we will talk more about this. Kind of the jack of all trades, I think is how you refer to yourself sometimes. And I kind of sort of relate to that, but it's all about you tonight. So let's, before we go any further, okay, I want to test your creativity, okay? Just a little Utalk test. When it comes to food, okay? Now, if you were a salad, what kind of salad would you be?
Okay, you said we're testing my creative abilities here, so I can put together any salad that I want.
Anything you want,
even if it's not a real salad.
Exactly, the sky's the limit. So go for it.
I think it would be similar to ambrosia. Let's start with a base of ambrosia. Throw in some vanilla ice cream and frozen blueberries.
Ooh.
And maybe just a ridiculous amount of coconut on top. That's what I would be.
Oh, you're making me hungry. What is salad? Now, so there would be a lettuceless salad. It would be an ambrosia salad.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's just skip the veggies altogether.
For me, chocolate.
Chocolate?
Yeah. I would want a dab of chocolate someplace in that.
On the salad that I've already created? Not like just a whole separate chocolate salad? No. Throw some on top of there?
The salad you created sounds so good, but it's like I am such a chocolate. It's like I'd want a little dab here and there. Awesome. Hey, your background, you've got an amazing background. Theater arts, drawing. We've already mentioned the makeup. You love storytelling. How does that fit in?
I think storytelling is kind of the basis of all art, or at least I think it should be. And I call myself a jack of all trades, kind of an attempt to keep myself humble because I've dabbled in so many different things. Mm-hmm. I can't really put one label on myself and say, this is the one thing that I'm really, really good at. I'm just decent at a lot of different things. And the reason for that is because, I started out in theater. I liked drawing a lot. I liked painting. I liked creating scenes. And when I joined theater and eventually the film world, I wanted to get my hands on every single department that I possibly could. So in order to do that, especially if I was, the only person behind the camera, the only person editing, the only person, putting the scene together, I had to get really, really good at a lot of different things. So I feel like I have a pretty good eye for wardrobe, for makeup, for hair, photography, lighting, writing, like all these different things, because at the end of the day, like I had to in order to bring whatever I had in my mind to life. So I think, at the end of the day, any artist is probably a storyteller in some form or another. And we just use various tools to bring those stories to life.
Oh, I love it. I like what you said in you're not necessarily an expert at anything, at all these different things, but you've become decent, I think is what you said.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome because it really is. I mean, I love storytelling and I think it can be done in different ways. I mean, somebody like you can draw, you can tell a story by a drawing you've made. I'm an author. I can tell a story by something I've written. Musicians tell stories. It's awesome when you can, with the kind of experience that you had, to be able to be part of all these different things. Okay, now I'm curious, where did the name Slugger come from?
Oh man, Slugger is kind of a jab at me, to be completely honest. I started Muay Thai a couple years ago, and for those who don't know, Muay Thai is a Thai boxing martial art. that's fairly similar to, Western kickboxing, but we also utilize knees and elbows as weapons. So it's a pretty hardcore sport. And I had a lot of anxiety going into it because I'm a fairly small female and I'm missing part of my right leg. So just kind of by default, whether I want this to be the case or not, people look at me and make assumptions based on the way my body is. So right from the very beginning, I felt like I had something to prove, and I hit hard. So I've had many sparring sessions, especially with like people above my weight class that, throw a little heavier and may not even realize it. And I will hit them just as hard as they hit me. And typically what will happen is they're like, "Hey, calm down, slugger." I get in there and I'm trying to throw my punches, and sometimes I forget how hard I'm hitting. So that's kind of how people remind me, like, "Hey, we're just sparring. It's okay."
I love it. I don't know why I was thinking about. I was on a judo team when I was in college, and there was
really?
This guy was about half my size. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", and he whispers, "You're going down." He couldn't take me down. Everything he tried to do, he couldn't take me down. And I'm just kind of laughing. He ended up breaking one of my toes because he was stomping on my foot. I don't know. It's like, that makes no sense. You want me to go down, you want to flip me over, but you're stomping on my foot. That's not going to help, bud. All right, so
so frustrated.
Where does the Bionickick come from?
That is a label I made for myself. I wanted a place online where I could keep all of my training videos, all of my photos, some personal writing reflecting on my Muay Thai training. And the easiest way for me to do that was to just start a new social media account that I could return to anytime I wanted. Didn't matter what device I was on, didn't matter where I was. I could just pull it up and put something new on there. So I really just started the Bionickick Instagram account just to have, my own personal diary.
Nice.
And I was just racking my brain, like, what is the right set of words or phrase or whatever to really say, like, what my unique position in this sport is. And for whatever reason, Bionickick sounded good. It mentions my leg and it mentions what I do. So it just happened to kind of fall together.
Nice that we can all, and let's remind people then, if they want to follow you on Instagram, it's Bionickick.
Bionickick. Yeah, that's me.
Let's hit this whole thing with athletics and doubt, because I don't know if you use this exact word, but you said you had anxiety going into
a lot of it, yes,
into this martial arts as an amputee, because you're missing, like you said, part of your right leg. What has helped you to get over that anxiety, to have that confidence? Because I take it you've been doing it for a couple of years now, a few years anyway.
Yeah, I've done it for a little while. I think I'll be hitting my 2-year anniversary here soon, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, I have to kind of repeatedly pull myself back from this cliff that I seem to walk up towards. I have so many expectations of myself, and I think part of that is because I'm a small female and because I'm an amputee. This sport, you typically think of martial arts and it's like these large, super fit guys who've been doing it all their lives, and that's just so not who I am. So I've always put a lot of pressure on myself, especially because I love it so much and because it means so much to me. It's like I have to do good today. I have to be constantly better than who I was last week or yesterday, or whatever that is. So something that has been really useful for me, especially doing something that, was so scary, is thinking back to who I was when I was younger and everything that I was afraid of. And kind of like separating that part of myself. Okay. And like, if I look at my anxiety, like my younger self and everything that she thought she couldn't do, and me today, like I'm her older sister. and I know we can get through this. I know what we're capable of. If I can kind of separate those things and have that almost conversation with my younger self and say, I know it's scary, but you're not alone. I'm going to be with you the entire time.
Oh,
we're going to figure it out. That's kind of my go-to method for talking myself down. I kind of learned that tactic a couple years ago when I started, and I still to this day have to kind of get back in that mindset and talk to myself like that so I can go into the gym.
So is that something, is that something similar to what if you could talk to your younger self, would you say something similar to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the things that I've learned just in the past few years is that anytime we feel afraid or nervous, or if we're, think that we're bad at something or we don't deserve something, it's typically we learned those thoughts because of something that happened to us when we were young, whether it's like a weird conversation with mom and dad, or somebody was mean to me on the playground. When you're young, you don't forget those things. You don't forget those feelings. And so we take them with us into adulthood. So when you're kind of trying to confront those things, which is something I try to do every day, kind of separating those parts of yourself and really acknowledging like what is the root of this feeling. It's very, very valuable. And so, yeah, I wish I could go back and tell my younger self, here's all the things you're going to do. Here's all the things we're going to, we're going to do together. It's going to be really awesome. I would love to do that.
That is so awesome. I mean, I think we all, in a sense, would like to do that, like you just said, encapsulated it. You can't imagine all the cool things you're going to be able to do. And it's like that. You and me, here's you, the younger one, but here's me, the older one who's experienced. And I just want you to know that that's so awesome. But what does it take to do that? Because I'm sitting here trying to put myself in somebody else's position and saying, okay, they might, and I can relate, to what you're saying. How do you develop that mindset? How do you stay, because you've got to stay focused. You've got to be able to pivot. I'm almost tired of that word because we've used that word so many times, in the last 18 months or whatever, but you've got to be able to stay focused so that you can tell yourself that, and yourself will listen. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wish I had an easy answer to how to make that work. I think, it takes a lot of practice. I don't think it's something that worked for me right away. And you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Like, it's hard to look at something within yourself that has protected you for so long. Like any fear, anxiety, all of that stuff, it's really like our way of protecting ourselves from feeling hurt or confused or embarrassed again. So it does take a lot of strength to kind of like take a step back and look at, okay, what am I trying to work through right now? And am I in a place where I feel safe enough to really address it? Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of work to even get to that space of like, am I ready to really reflect on this right now? Am I in a space where I'm comfortable enough to do this? But after a while, it gets easier and it's worth it anyway, because your life is just so much more open and limitless. So
you can be at a point where you can take some risks.
Yeah.
And if you fail, at least you tried it. You can try it again, or you can move on to something else. I love what you said, though. I think this is so key, is take a step back. Have enough mindset, I guess, enough awareness of what's going on to just simply say, I'm going to take a step backwards. Just half a step, a full step, whatever it is. I'm going to take a step back so I can get perspective in a healthy way. Because somebody, in the audience might be saying, well, I'm talking to you. So no, there's a healthy way. There's a crazy way. And there's
we can do a little bit of both. It's fine.
No, I appreciate that. Because I know there's people out there, whether it's, doubts in athletics or in music or acting or something else creative, or even walking on a campus. Because people are so mean today. It's just, I was looking at something online today from this post that people do locally where I live, And, the question was, why do kids have to be so mean to each other? And that's true. But yet I don't think it's just kids. I think it's adults too. People are just mean, just crazy mean sometimes. Okay, you've got all these different creative things going on, martial arts, and I can imagine that would be a little, people would question that since you are smaller in stature. And, and some people say, well, a female couldn't do, that's kind of dumb, because, we've all got gifts and talents and we can all surprise somebody else. But with all the different creative things you do, is there one that's kind of at the top that you say, this is, if I could only do one thing, this would be it. I just thrive on this. Is there one thing in your creative closet of abilities?
Oh man, I would say I oscillate between Muay Thai and photography. Like if you just pluck me out of my day at any point, it could be either one of those two. I typically do both, like constantly. So I'm kind of fortunate that I have the time to do that. But
yeah, for sure.
As far as, like martial arts, Muay Thai for me, like I don't get full control of the situation because it's me versus myself versus somebody else.
Okay.
So I have, like that, and that's so cool and really fun in its own way. But what I love about photography is I do get to control the whole thing. Like I can select my subject. I can, have a conversation with them. We can work together. I can kind of pull parts of their personality that I think I should highlight in these images. I can control wardrobe and lighting and like all of these different things to create the image that I want to create. So, they're a little bit different. But I don't think I would be who I am without either one of those two. But I guess if you had to pick one that if I had to do one for the rest of my life and that's it would probably be photography.
Interesting.
It's kind of painful for me to say, but
no, but I like what you're saying because with Muay Thai and the photography, it seems to me there's a balance there because one is so much more physical, but it's also emotional and it's also mental. Any sport really, whether you're playing tennis or you're doing martial arts or whatever, there's a mental aspect to it. But I have to compliment you on your photography. I kind of got lost on your website and looking, and I shouldn't probably publicly say this, but I said this to one of our other hosts, Katie, because she was looking at some of the stuff too, and I said, we have got to get Sam involved in some of the projects we're doing, like when we do a TV shoot or whatever, because you've got such an amazing eye. I'm looking at the colors and just the way. I don't even know all the right terms, so I don't want to. But okay. Context. I'm very impressed because there's so much depth. You can sit and look at some of those pictures, and I found for myself anyway, the longer I looked at them, the more I was seeing in texture and color and depth. And I didn't see that last kind of thing. So anyway,
thank you. That is the best compliment ever. I appreciate that, and I would love to work with you guys. Just yeah.
About that because you have the eye that as we're rolling out lots of different projects and I just dropped something that I probably shouldn't have said publicly with
we're committed now.
I know
can't take it back.
But it's like when we're on the set of, and I'm not going to say it again because we do have big stuff coming up that we're excited. Right. But no, I think it'd be really fun because you understand lighting, you understand the costume, if you will have it, you understand the background. That's a real gift. Is that something have you always liked to do photography from the time you were younger? Or was that something that came on late?
It kind of just happened. I was like I mentioned before, I was a theater student and I really wanted to get into film. But film projects, even small film projects, take at least 2 to 3 people to make work. And when I decided that I wanted to start creating stories and using digital media as an art form, I just had myself. So I started out with self-portraiture. I did my makeup, I did my hair, I put my costume together, I found the right lighting, And I literally just took photos of myself. And I just fell in love with the process after that. So, I mean, I still love film. I still love working in the art department and assisting other creatives. And I still do that. But I think I kind of became a control freak and just really liked being able to have a say in every little aspect of a project. So photography kind of just became my favorite thing. And I never would have gotten there had I not been through drawing and costuming and theater and, all of these different things that amount to me being a jack of all trades. They all kind of work together really well.
All those pieces,
photography,
how they all come together, and it makes you stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm amazed at just how much these life experiences you've had that you put together and you're using them. And I'm also amazed at you not being held back. I'm thinking about people in our audience who maybe they're facing some pretty tough life challenges, whether a disability, doubts. We keep coming back to that, fear. We've talked about that quite a bit. Not knowing where they belong, if they belong. And a lot of people today, especially younger people, it's like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Do I even really matter? But if I can say this respectfully, you have not let anything hold you back. And having part of your right leg gone, that, with a lot of people, that would have been, I'm done. And I mean, I've seen some of the pictures. In fact, I think there was a picture we put on social today on the poster of you up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, that was going, oh my goodness, I'm going to be nice to her. If she's going up that high, she's coming down. But seriously, what would you say to that person, male or female listening? How do we overcome that life challenge so we can thrive, I guess is a good word?
That's another one of those tough questions that, there's not an easy, beautifully wrapped up sentence that can, that I can say. It's a forever battle. I mean, I appreciate you saying that it seems like nothing holds me back, but that's what you're seeing, right? Like, we always see everyone's successes.
Mm-hmm. I've seen
there's plenty of projects that I started and never finished. There's plenty of nights that I've stayed up wondering if I'm making the right decision. Am I investing my money in the right tools and the right projects? I've made connections with people that I thought were going to amount to something really awesome that didn't. There's always tons of that happening in the background.
Yeah.
And I think like something that I revisit often is the question of like, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen if we just go through with this today? Just today. Like, we don't even need to look past, the next 24 hours. What's the absolute worst that can happen? Prepare for that. Prepare for failure. Prepare for the absolute worst case scenario. And what will we take away from this? Even if we do fail, even if it is the worst outcome possibly imagine, and is it still worth moving forward? 90% of the time, the answer is yes. Like, if I'm gonna fly, across the country to meet somebody and photograph them, and it doesn't work out, or they cancel on me, or whatever, like there's so many moving parts. But like, what worst case scenario, if all of my greatest fears come true, is it still gonna be good for me? Usually the answer is yes. So yeah, I think the best way to ease anxiety and to push past fears and doubts is to prepare for the worst, and then you have a plan if the worst case scenario does happen. And most of the time it won't. You'll come out with something really awesome either way. And you just practice that every single time.
Attitude is huge.
Absolutely.
I'm hearing that underlying principle here as I'm listening to you talk. It's an attitude. It's an attitude that says, I'm willing to risk. If I fail, okay. if I have to change something up a little bit, but it keeps us moving forward rather than holding us back. And I guess I had another one here, not listening to the doomsayers, who say, oh, you could never do this. You could, I mean, I had a freshman, when I was a freshman in college, I had a speech class I had to take, and my professor asked me to stay after class one day, and she said, look, Mr. Russo, I don't know how to say this to you, but there's one thing I want to encourage you, don't ever do. Don't ever become a public speaker or do broadcasting or anything. She goes, you're terrible, you mumble, and I would like to find her today. I don't remember to cut her out of my mouth. But it wasn't long after that I started doing motivational speaking and television and radio and things like this, and I won't digress any further on that, but it was, I could have not been where I am today had I listened to her telling me that, which was so wrong. I mean, to say that to a student.
Yeah. Do you feel like it motivated you more to have somebody plant that seed of doubt in your head, and now you're like, oh, that's what you think? I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah, no, it's I'm a strong, red-blooded Italian male. That's what it was. I think it was almost like a Rocky mentality. Oh, okay, so I'm going to prove you wrong. I think, it's that's interesting. You're the first person that's asked me that, but that's true. That's really true, because I was bound to determine at that point, okay, lady, you think that's, and I, like I said, I'd love to find her sometime, but she probably wouldn't even remember the comment. But that comment probably did more to push me forward than, other comments. Yeah. So, I mean, and we can't listen to those people who, for whatever reason, want to trash talk us or say you can't do this. And I know the more somebody does tell me I can't do this, the more and it's interesting, because you're absolutely right. I had not put that piece together, but as I've gone on in life, I've had that attitude. It's like, okay, you tell me I can't do it? Really? Okay, let's see.
Right.
I'll show you what I can do.
I think like the types of comments that get me even more than the standard, you can't do this, the very typical like bullying types of comments that you would initially think of are the ones that are like fake nice, where like when I go into Muay Thai class and somebody's like, wow, it's really brave of you for trying this. That's like really cool. It's like backhanded, right? And it's almost more aggravating to me, because I'm like, you're being nice on paper, but I know what the tone of this statement is. And that's what gets me so fired up. Because the people who are like, oh, you can't do this, I'm like, whatever, you don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I love it.
But the people who are like, oh, it's like really cute that you're giving this, your best shot or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's what you think I'm doing? You think it's cute that I'm trying? Like, dude, let's put our gloves on and I'll show you, I
love it. Yes, absolutely. No, that is so cool. And what a great principle for all of us to hang on to is, because bullying comes in different forms, often backdoor, like the fake compliment kind of a thing, and kind of that jab, and then slugger appears, and yes. I really like what you're saying, because I think we all need to develop more of that attitude. It's get rid of the defeatism and just realize where that comment is coming from, whether it's on social or whether it's to your face. And unfortunately, we get a lot more, I think, on social, because people can be anonymous, say things. And you've got to have that, I can't think of the term, if you have one, a filter of some sort, where this stuff comes at you and you filter it and then push it out. Just that a person filter, I don't know, that's not, it doesn't resonate, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely never forget. Like, I wouldn't even say that I'm filtering it out by any means. I just don't respond right away. And I don't necessarily respond with words. I think, like, I love what you're saying about, we all need to have this attitude that, like, things that people say don't necessarily mean anything about me.
Yeah.
But I think that like what receiving this kind of behavior has taught me more than anything is that I need to really be cognizant of what I'm saying to other people.
Oh.
You know, like, how do I not behave like this person who just gave me a backhanded compliment? How can I make sure? Because for most of these people, they think they're genuinely giving me a compliment. They think they're genuinely being really nice. But I can hear, you know, the tone underneath what they're saying, and that's what's really frustrating. So I just take that as a lesson of, like, how can I make sure that I'm wording things properly, and how can I make sure that I'm actually saying what I mean to say to other people, just to make sure that I'm not being that, you know, unintentional bully as well, right? Like, if we kind of all bring it back to what can I do to control myself and make sure that I'm the best person I can be, like, you know, there's only so much you can do as far as, you know, brushing off rude things people say, but how can you make sure that you're not also unintentionally bullying somebody else or making somebody else feel,
well said,
you know?
Well said. That's huge. I mean, that really, that encapsulates everything we've been talking about. That is so huge in being the best person we can. And are we going to react instead of responding? And what's the response going to be?
Right.
And like you mentioned earlier, taking that step back. And I think when we get these backhanded compliments, taking a step back, pressing the pause button, and just saying, okay, what is the best response rather than reaction? How can I respond? Or do I even need to respond? Maybe just walk away.
Right.
Maybe it's that simple. Oh, great convo. I appreciate you taking time to be with us. We're going to have to get you on the schedule again, because I think there's so much more we can talk about. You know, I've just got this list, this plethora of questions that I want to ask you. So I'll have to try to remember to write them down, and then we can talk about them another time. But once again, if people want to follow you on social, where do they go?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook under the handle Bionickick.
Okay.
That's bionic like a robot and kick like kicking. And then I also, you know, anybody who wants to talk portraiture or creative projects, my website is SamanthaTokita.com, and that's also in my bio on Instagram as well.
Excellent. Okay. SamanthaTokita.com and at Bionickick.
That's me.
Great. Hey, thanks. We appreciate you taking time, and we'll look forward to having you on again. Yeah, I love your creative genius, and that's what we tell our interns. In fact, one of our current, in fact, he's just finishing, is the one who connected us to you, and we always love telling them, look, we want you to take your creative genius and use it, you know, and have somebody like you too that you're doing this as a business, and you know, I think it would be exciting to see some of the things we get together. But thank you. Stay in touch with us. Let us know things you're doing. Maybe in between when we have you next time, we can let people know, you know, about them. And we want to encourage those of you that have caught the show today to get involved. Follow Sam. If you've got projects, I mean, connect with her. See what you guys can do.
Work on some stuff.
That's just the whole thing. So anyway, thanks. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for being with us.
This is Utalk Radio.